shit like that.
I know it's a problem. Boston 26th in offensive rating on NBA.com.
They're pretty bad.
Yeah,
There we go. New thumbnail. Let's do this. We are live. Tuesday, November 13th. I can't find the button. Click on. There it is. Now you can see us. 3-game slate.
Button.
Tons to talk about today. Lofty and I were sitting in here talking for, I don't know, the past 10 minutes about Jimmy Butler and the Sixers. And it was like, oh, we should probably do this.
Yeah,
What's
it's good
going on,
15
chat?
minutes now.
What's up, Lofty? What's going on?
Nothing, man. Nothing. It's got a long miserable day ahead of me. So talking basketball, helps you to forget about what you have to do throughout the day. It's and then you got the Jimmy Butler debut tomorrow, so it's definitely going to be interesting. That's what you and I were talking about off stream. Just basically weighing risks and reward. And yeah, I think too many people want to blow up too many people want to exaggerate the value of Covington and Saric.
Yes.
I mean, I think Covington's a good defender, which he is. It's not an I think situation. He is, but offensively, he's not giving you much. And those two guys, are they easily replaceable? Probably not. But they're also not guys that are going to make or break a basketball team. They'll help you win third place or fourth place in the conference. Jimmy Butler is the type of guy that you have to take advantage of when the window's there. And look, free agents, free agents weren't trying to come there. So you got to pull the trigger somewhere, and they did. And a 2022 second with Covington and Saric, I'm perfectly willing to see how that'll work out. And I'm happy with it. But he's going to make his debut tomorrow, and then we'll see. But for today, we've only got 3 damn games.
Who they got tomorrow?
Utah in Philly.
That's a rude awakening.
Yeah, Utah's not that good.
No, but it's a team that's going to make you work for all of those 48. Like it's not we could just gel together. Like if things aren't clicking, Utah's not a great team to be playing against. They're well coached, organized. Like that's just
absolutely.
You'd rather break in against like the Hawks.
Yep. Utah's basketball's funny in that way because like you could throw a guy on the court and you just gel at it, and you're like, wow, that they practice once together. Look at that, because they have an instinct of where everyone's going to be. In football, it's so much different. You got to learn the route tree. You got to learn the playbook. Like so many players, you can't just jump right into it. And if you can, you're generally not on the same page. But with basketball, it either works or it doesn't. And sometimes you could practice together for as long as you want and still not make a difference. So, it'll be interesting to see. Well, actually, I guess you could say baseball is the easiest to just jump into, right?
You would. I don't get the sense that one would matter all that much.
Get in the lineup, fella. Yeah. I don't think it's that difficult.
No.
But no, it'll be fun, and it'll be interesting to see if Butler brings in any ownership on DFS sites, and also to see how it affects Joel Embiid, because right now Joel Embiid, you call me a homer, I don't care. Call me whatever you want. The dude's like legitimately squarely in the MVP race, and there's nobody that can deny that unless you're just a hater like my boy Ring Rim.
By the way, they don't play Utah tomorrow.
No,
they play the Magic, which
Friday.
Is exactly the type of team they want to break this into.
Yep, that's Friday. I play hockey on Wednesdays, and I wasn't going to be able to watch this game. I was talking to my buddy yesterday. The first home game is against Utah, so yep, my mistake. Good call there. Orlando. That's right.
That's a good break-in game.
Yeah, I think so too. Good catch. So 7 p.m.
Thanks, chat. Game. Thanks, Magic Knowles in chat.
Yeah, thanks.
They're probably going to get some ownership too against Orlando.
That's the thing. Well, that's the interesting thing, right? Because where's Embiid going to come in ownership? He was 10-1 yesterday, which is just outrageous no matter the matchup anymore.
Yeah.
And Butler's been pretty cheap all season long, right? So I'm real curious to see pricing, because if Butler comes in at like $8K flat, are we going to The interesting thing, and then I'll leave this one alone, but I think it's going to be a big topic, is outside of Embiid. Like, yes, you had Redick that was drilling everything yesterday. Redick finished with 25 points. He shot 20 times. But look at this team outside of this. Simmons shot 7 times. Yeah. Mike Muscala shot 11. So that was like Furkan Korkmaz shot 9. Outside of that, there's nothing. It was Embiid and Redick. You know, Chandler took 3 shots in 23 minutes. Fultz shot 8 times and had a free throw that he pump faked from the free throw line. Landry Shamet took 5 shots. It's not like you're throwing Butler into a mix where you already have got like 5 or 3 guys that are jacking up 15 plus shots a game. It's Embiid, and then everyone cleans up the scraps. And if Redick gets hot, he does his thing. So I think they can actually coexist quite well from a daily fantasy standpoint. From a real life standpoint, that's yet to be seen.
They're going to be filthy defensively.
Oh yeah. There's no question.
They haven't been good yet defensively, but it's gonna. I'm anxious to see the climb from today until like the end of December and see what their defensive rating is.
They have a top 10 D rating.
They are 15th right now on cleaning the glass.
NBA.com has them 9th.
Must have played a lot of garbage time.
It's possible. I mean, their wing defense really isn't that bad at all. No. Plus, Covington actually, if there's one thing he does well, is it's defense.
Yeah, so like Simmons, Embiid, and Butler on the floor. That's kind of scary. Redick is smart, at least.
Wilson Chandler is not like a complete slouch for his age either. So,
and he's not going to have to guard the best guy always either. Like he's going to be picking up, you know, even if it's just replacing Saric, that's a much better defensive guy than Saric is terrible on defense.
Yeah, and again, it's not like Chandler's good, but he's not a massive liability.
No, not at all. All right, you want to talk about these 3 games?
Not particularly, but let's do it.
I couldn't agree more. Cleveland and Charlotte. Cleveland 106.5 implied total. Charlotte Hornets 113.5. So Hornets 7-point favorites in Cleveland. Start on the Cleveland side where there's some chalk to be had. Jordan Clarkson, Larry Nance, projected to be 65% owned on both sites. A lot of Colin Sexton, a lot of Rodney Hood. These 3 gamers, man, you see those numbers, and it's like I don't want 33% of Colin Sexton ever. And then it's like, oh well, cheap. I have like 6 options, so I gotta kind of have them a little bit. Yeah, Colin Sexton is not a guy I'm interested in today. But let's start at the top with Jordan Clarkson, 5,700 on both sites. 30+% ownership. I mean, he's like the only guy that wants to shoot on this team.
Yeah, he is. But aside from that, it's been tough to get him to do anything else. Now, recently, Clarkson's actually gotten involved more as a facilitator, at least over his last 2 games, which is that's kind of enticing because if that's the case, I'll take him over Sexton. But the problem is both of these guys are players that have clear shoot first mentalities. They're not players that are looking to pass first. And a lot of times with cheap point guards, most times if you're a cheap point guard, I want you to have a pass first mentality because you at least can protect your floor a little bit. In this case, it's tough to do that, but Clarkson, over his last 2 games, is averaging 12 potential assists per game, which is pretty interesting. The odd thing is Colin Sexton leads the team in passes made and passes received by a massive margin, right? Like doubling up the next player on both of them. Clarkson is nowhere near Sexton in that regard, except he's averaging 3 more potential assists per game than Colin Sexton. So he's actually moving the ball around more than Sexton. Sexton's just going out there and chucking. But it's funny because you look at Sexton's minutes, 42, 34, and we're just using the last 2 games here where we've started to see, with no George Hill and the minutes have changed around because both of these guys have played big minutes in these games. So starting from the 7, if you look at touches on this over this same span, it gets interesting as well. So, and I'll just give it to you real quick. Let me run this. So touches, Sexton 85 leads the team. Next is Tristan Thompson at 53, and then Clarkson at 51. So it's strange that Clarkson would be seeing that many more potential assists, and it's a small sample, but and so he's seeing that many more potential assists, but Sexton is seeing way more passes made, touches, and just seeing the ball a lot more. With this type of just usage case, I'd probably actually lean Colin Sexton because here's why. I'll make it easy for you. He's locked into more minutes. In terms of field goal attempts, 14 and 16 over his last 2 games. So it's not like he's not shooting at all. He has 30 shots. Clarkson has 33 shots, but he's just getting a lot more opportunity in total over those spots, and he's cheaper. So, yeah, I'd lean Sexton because I think he could play 40 minutes in this game.
But that wouldn't shock me. I've got him in for 34 right now, and I feel like I'm probably a little low. My problem with Sexton is simply just that he hasn't been very good.
No, he hasn't. And he's so dependent on scoring.
Of everybody that I have projected for more than 15 minutes to play point guard today, so that's 10 guys, 9 guys? 9 guys. Sexton has the lowest fantasy points per possession rating of anybody there, and it's not close. Next closest is Quinn Cook. He's been like 15% worse than Quinn Cook's career, which is dreadful.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So like Clarkson and Sexton are the same price on FanDuel with essentially the same expected ownership. I prefer Clarkson by miles and miles.
Why though? Because this is what why do you prefer Clarkson that much more? Just because his per minute production this year has been better?
Two things, I think. I prefer it because Clarkson is a shooting guard on FanDuel and not a point guard. I like the top end of point guard a little bit more than I like shooting guard, so it allows me to get more of Kemba or Chris Paul or Trey Young compared to Harden, Thompson, and Bazemore. It's just a little bit different at the top. But 2, yeah, I mean, when push comes to shove, like I have Sexton as a significantly worse player than I have Jordan Clarkson. So we would have to talk about really just how many more opportunities does Colin Sexton need? By opportunities, I mean like minutes or possessions. Does he need to get to where Clarkson would be for me? And it's a lot.
Yeah, see, I guess that's where I'm a little bit different. I don't think the disparity in talent is that large. I think now that Sexton's going to start seeing ridiculous minutes, Ray asks, "Can you play both?" I don't really think you want to play both together, but
I mean, today on a 3-gamer, sure.
If you're crunching up 150 lineups, yes.
Yeah.
Like in a single entry or a 3-man, I don't think that, because where is your ceiling there?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're going to struggle to find much of a ceiling there between these guys. I don't think either of them are particularly great basketball players in their current state. What I'm saying though is, I'll make it simple just in terms of explaining this, where with Sexton, he has not been very good. He's actually shot 50% over his last 2 games. I just believe a guy that's averaging 10 assists, potential assists per game, that's leading the team in touches by like a massive margin.
Sure.
Look, the stats not everything, but it does go to show you that he's not just standing around.
Yeah.
And he's bringing the ball up the court, initiating the offense. I'm just of the mindset that a guy that's played 42 and 34 minutes, that probably could play upwards of 38, 40 in a close game today, is going to ultimately get more opportunities. He has no steals over that span. He only has 4 assists, 6 rebounds. You give him that many minutes and that many touches and that many offensive possessions, I just think you will fall face first into a good game at some point. So that's why at a cheaper price. It's strictly a volume thing for me.
That makes perfect sense. Like I said, I have Sexton at 34 minutes right now, and I can very conceivably go to 36, 37.
Right.
And that will narrow the margin between the two. I mean, I'm not really excited to play either of them. The Cavs are bad.
No.
That's really the bigger issue in all of this.
If this wasn't a 3-game slate, we wouldn't be even having this conversation.
No, not at all. What do you think of Nance as 65% chalk on? He's the chalk play on both sites right now. Number one with a bullet.
Yeah, it's hard not to play him,
right?
Because he's the type of guy that can shoot 1 for 8 for 2 points like he did last game, and still drop 30 fantasy points, right? I mean, he's a he's a pure energy player. He's a pure hustle player, and believe it or not, I like those type of guys quite a bit because they generally don't kill you. It's hard for them to just completely burn you. You know, he's a point per minute guy. He's a 1+ point per minute guy, actually. You know, he's averaging a double per 36, which is good. You look, he can give you steals, blocks, assists, rebounds, easy points around the basket. Not a great shooter, but 50% of his shots come at the rim anyway, so you're not super concerned about that. He's not expensive. Yeah, and plus, look, you have no Kevin Love, obviously. The tank is in full effect.
Yeah.
No Sam Decker, and no Chetty Osman. So they've all three already been ruled out. And not now, J.R. Smith might not play in this game, and Kyle Korver is probably not playing in this game. So you say, why does that matter? They're shooting guards. You know, one of them might stand or play at small forward for a little while. It matters because this team has no healthy bodies.
No, they do not.
Like if Smith is out, you have Clarkston, Sexton, Andrew Harrison.
Yeah.
And then you have Hood, so that's 4. Let's say all those guys we just talked about are out. David Nwaba, 5. Who else? We have you have Nance is 6.
Yeah.
I guess is Billy Preston on the roster?
Who?
Exactly. I'm gonna tell you right now if he's even on the roster. Cleveland.
He is on Billy Haywood?
No, Billy Preston. That's 7. Channing Frye is 8. Yeah. No one wants to play Channing Frye.
Ante Zizic?
Yeah, Jijic.
Whatever. It's a Z.
And Thompson. So what did I get to? Like 9 or 10? Yeah. And how many bigs is that? Jijic, Nance, Thompson, Preston, and Frye, and you're not playing Preston. Like Nance has to play 30 minutes here.
Yeah, he probably has to. That doesn't even account for the fact that like any sort of foul trouble throws this team into absolute disarray. Like there's no telling. You know, David Nwaba could play 40 minutes today if things break the wrong way.
No doubt. Like that's not even hyperbole either.
No. You get 2 quick fouls on someone and every single rotation is blown up because this team these pieces don't fit together.
I think Nwaba probably plays 30 minutes today.
He might. I mean, if J.R. Smith and Kyle Korver really are out, there are a lot of minutes to go around.
Yeah, it looks like Korver is going to be out.
I have him in right now. I have everybody in right now, actually, except for the guys that are legitimately already out. Korver is being listed as out already.
He said he could miss the next 2 games. So
I didn't know Korver was out proper.
I didn't either. I thought he was expected to be out. I didn't know he was out. So yeah, you're right. Korver out. Osman out.
I'm keeping JR in right now, but
he's probable. It's showing.
Yeah. I
didn't see that until now. But still, man, that's not a ton of bodies.
No.
Especially given that Frye has played 1 game this season. Old Billy Preston hasn't seen a single minute of court time.
Makes me feel a little bit better about not knowing he was a real human.
Right? Ugh. Yeah. Nance. What are your thoughts on Tristan Thompson, man? He's had 2 monster games. He's got 40+ fantasy points in 3 of his last 6. Who saw that coming?
Not anybody that watches this stuff. 6,100 on FanDuel, projecting 11% ownership. I didn't get any. 5,700 on DK, projected for 19% ownership. I don't have any real interest in Tristan Thompson here. Yeah. Not at 20% ownership.
Well, and then the thing is, like, if you're loading up on Tristan Thompson, it means you're going to have less Alex Len, who's really cheap. You're going to have less Clint Capella, who's really cheap. So,
does Tristan have power forward center eligibility or just center?
Thompson, just center.
Even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, where is he going to actually land on a list of centers? Behind Jokic, Capella, Len, Green, Nance, Millsap, I'd rather probably have Cody Zeller for $1,300 less.
Yeah.
I'd rather throw it all in the garbage and hope that maybe Willie Hernangomez plays more.
Right.
Yeah, I have no interest in Thompson if he's going to be 20% owned on DraftKings.
Yeah, it's tough. 20% on a 3-gamer is not crazy, but still, it's not a guy that I'm particularly enthusiastic about. I can tell you that much. I will say this much though. Tristan Thompson, the rebounding recently has been really insane. He's over his last 3 games, he's averaging 22.5 rebound chances per game, which is a really high number.
Yeah.
And he's bringing in around 64% of them. Larry Nance is at 13.3, which, in case you're wondering, for a 4 is a pretty good number as well. I think you see Thompson and Nance just soak up all the boards in this game. So, I mean, that's cool. But Thompson, I don't. The strange thing is, when you ever see Thompson shooting 9 for 12, 10 for 14, 5 for 13, 13 attempts. I mean, this is a guy who never shoots at all. I mean, you bring him in for his defensive acumen. Don't expect to see anything like this. His average field goal attempts per game over the last few seasons, 6, 5.1, 5.6, 4.4. Now he's at the 8.8. So I don't know. He's a tough one for me to evaluate. I'll have some of him, but I'm definitely not falling in love with Tristan Thompson and buying in entirely to the hype.
I will almost assuredly have absolutely 0 on FanDuel tonight.
Yeah, on FanDuel, I don't see why you would want any, but on DraftKings, I will, where I can play 2 centers. I'll have a little bit of Thompson.
Do we need to talk about Andrew Harrison on DraftKings at flat minimum if JR ends up being out too? Like, can he get enough minutes for that to matter at 3,000?
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean, because I don't think so. I could be wrong.
Just too many guards.
But because I feel like, okay, if you have Nwaba and you have David Nwaba, you have Rodney Hood still. Let's not forget about Rodney Hood.
Yeah.
So I think what you're probably going to see is Clarkson and Sexton playing sizable minutes alongside each other, and then Hood at the 3, Nance at the 4, Thompson at the 5. So Harrison, I wouldn't be surprised if Harrison really only soaked up minutes at the backup point guard position.
Yeah.
I'd give him around like 20 minutes, but it's hard for me to see it being a whole lot more than that. Thompson and Clarkson and Sexton played, let's see, they played 5.5 minutes together in the first quarter last game. And then they played in the second half. They played about 3 minutes together, and then 3 or 4 more minutes in the fourth quarter. No, I say 3. So 11 minutes total around. But if Korver's out, then you're going to get a situation where they probably play like 15, 18 minutes, maybe more together. And then Harrison probably sees like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't expect it to be any good. He's grading out as like a pretty good point per dollar guy just because he could play 18 minutes and has the lowest salary that you could possibly have. Just wanted to take a path down that to see if he could be a feasible punt, but I would agree with you, not really.
Yeah. I guess anything's possible.
Thanks, KG.
I'd actually, like, if you're talking about a dirt cheap punt, I'd probably rather play like a Miles Plumlee, honestly.
Sure.
I hope that he can give you 20 minutes playing close to the basket.
Oh, because if Miles Plumlee plays 20 minutes, he could end up putting up 40.
Right. I mean, that's if he plays 20 and gave me, because if he played 20 and gave me 25, which is possible, I'm okay with that. He's a decent way to go a little bit off the reservation here, assuming that Len is going to be very popular. And Golden State's playing their second of a back-to-back. They're coming off an overtime game, but it's still Atlanta, and there's still a very good chance that they blow their doors off at the Oracle. So yeah, to me, I wouldn't be surprised because it's not like this is a good matchup for Plumlee, like from a size and spacing and lineups, like matchup standpoint. But still, you could see the guy playing 20 minutes if this game gets out of hand because they're just going to throw him in at the 5 to mop up. And he's already going to play like 15, 17 in a close game because Dwayne Dedmon's out.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the real side of this Cavs game. That would be the Hornets. $9K for Kemba on FanDuel, $9,700 on DraftKings. Ridiculous price point. I mean, I would imagine everybody on the planet likes Kemba. You just have to wonder how long does he play. But I mean, he looks great. His usage is north of 30. I'm going to have quite a bit of Kemba. We have 44% expected ownership on him right now. I think that all makes perfect sense. There is not a single bit of downside, in my opinion, to Kemba Walker, at least on FanDuel. 9,700 on DK is a pretty tough sell.
Yeah, 97 on DK gets kind of tough when you have Kevin Durant against Atlanta.
Yeah.
Harden, by the way, the other day on Sunday night was 9,400.
That's insane.
Yeah. I played 80%. It was the first time I played Harden this season. I had 80%. So that gives you an idea. Like when pricing is right, you just do it.
Yeah.
And he had 66 fantasy points, so we'll take it. But when pricing is right on guys, you just go for it. It doesn't matter what their price is. But it's kind of tough on this slate because on DraftKings, Jokic is reasonably priced at 94. Harden at 10.5 isn't crazy. Durant at 10.2, coming off that triple-double. I know he played 39 minutes before he fouled out, but still, it's not something you're too concerned about, knowing that Curry's already out. So Kemba on FanDuel, as you mentioned, yeah, you're not going to argue that. 97 on DraftKings, man. When you get up there, that makes life tough.
That's a lot.
It really is, because as good as Kemba is, there's a very good chance that you get that 38 to 42 fantasy point game here, and you're not going to be okay with that at this price. That's my concern.
No, he just doesn't have to push himself for it in this spot either, or at least he shouldn't have to. I don't like projecting blowouts, but like this should be a game where Kemba might not be like coming out of the gates that aggressively.
Right. That's what you would hope so. But Charlotte's not a bad team because of Kemba, pretty much exclusively because of Kemba.
Yep.
Tony Parker's putting in some work off the bench too. But and I'm serious. He's actually been really effective for them off the bench, which is crazy. He look at some of these games where he's jacking up 18, 15 shots and just getting red hot. It's crazy. Like he actually looks good and fresh. But yeah, Walker's the main guy here. And then outside of that, you're talking about guys like Miles Bridges because he's cheap. I don't really have much interest in a guy like Batum. Or you have Zeller.
Okay, so I have a lot of Batum on my first run, and he is very chalky. So
yeah,
how I feel about that might change because of his ownership.
Here, my thing is if Batum, because I was thinking about this last night when I was looking over the slate. If Batum is coming in as chalk, on a 3-game slate, like I'm almost always going to fade Chalk Batum just because the chances of him single-handedly burning me by fading him are so slim. Like the best game he's had this year is like 33 fantasy points. I mean,
sure.
Is it possible that Batum goes off? Yeah, it's that could happen with anyone. You know, Amari Spellman could do that today.
He keeps doing it for some reason.
Yeah, right. He could but anyone, like seriously, take a bad center, give him 30 minutes, and he could end up having like 5 blocks and a bunch of rebounds that fell into his lap, you know, and easy putbacks. And you get your good game, fine. But with Batum, is it possible? Sure, maybe he's feeling it and he comes out of the gate and he's looking good. But the guy has not attempted. He's attempted double-digit shots once in his last 8 games. He's been non-existent for the most part. So if he's going to be chalk, I'm okay with fading that. I'll take my chances and fade a chalk Batum because there's a very, very good possibility that not having Batum could work out for me. And that's probably the risk that I'm willing to take.
Yeah, and I think we need to make the caveat here that everything is so very site dependent. Here are the small forwards on FanDuel tonight. Kevin Durant at 11,800. The next closest guy in salary is Taurean Prince at 6,600.
Although I like him.
That's what?
I like him.
$5,200 gap in price between 1 and 2. Then it's Batum, Rodney Hood, Miles Bridges, Bembry, Juan Hernangomez. Like, Batum is chalk as a small forward on FanDuel because you need to play 2 of them, and there are barely 2 of them.
You are right, though. It's tough because I focus on DraftKings. Like I go predominantly DraftKings pricing, and I know you kind of start on FanDuel. So yeah, I should have made that clarification.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make it for everybody. Like,
right? No, you're right.
It's 2 different questions in their entirety on a day like today because I see Batum as not that interesting on DK, and I see him as like someone it's really hard to avoid because there are like 5 functional small forwards today.
Lesser of 2 evil things, yeah.
Like he's gonna play no matter what. Like Batum's minutes are a real thing. So like sometimes it's just as easy as just saying, okay, well, maybe he'll have a lucky day.
Right, and it's possible. You know, on FanDuel, it's an entirely different story. I will 100% give you that. I mean, there's just no question that it's a different story on FanDuel. Batum is still projected to be pretty chalky on DraftKings, though.
Yeah, 30%. So, he's guard forward, though, right?
Correct.
That's so gigantic.
Yeah, I'm still cool fading that. What doesn't make sense to me is how we have Batum projected for higher ownership than Durant. Like my guess is that Durant's the first guy plugged into most lineups today.
I would agree with you. I mean, the guy that we should really be talking about, particularly on DK from the Hornets side, is Miles Bridges. He's 3,700. I mean, he should be, without question, the most popular punt play of the day. No MKG. He's just going to play too many minutes for his price point.
Yep,
no matter what you think of his talent level.
Right. And he'll play through a blowout.
Yep.
In the event that there is one. Yeah, now Bridges is a pretty viable punt here. There's no question. For point per dollar, I have him second on the slate. Point per dollar. Yeah, second on the slate. Behind Nance and behind Alex Len.
I have him second behind Len.
Okay. So there's really no issue with Bridges, but that's, again, like that's why I'd rather just fade a Andrew Harrison and go to a Bridges. Because,
absolutely.
We know we're getting the work in there, and there's that. I was looking at Cody Zeller too, just questioning whether or not I wanted to consider him. It's definitely possible that he gets some good run out there just to try and make a dent against Tristan Thompson, but Zeller's not a good rebounder. He's just not a very good rebounder. So So I don't really think that he's going to make a huge. He's not a terrible, but he's not great by any stretch. So yeah, I don't know if it's a great spot for him. He's cheap, and that's about it. Like that's really the only benefit is that he's real cheap.
Yeah. Do you like anybody else on Charlotte?
Not really. Oh, what I wanted to say about Zeller is basically the same price as Alex Len.
Yeah.
So, if you think that Alex Len can come out there and just have a terrible game or get in early foul trouble and you're trying to fade him, that's probably your natural pivot. But it's not one you feel great about. It's just one that's there.
A good point. Yeah, we're going to get to Len in a little bit. I got 65% of him on my first crunch, so.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Team Alex Len, which is usually not a place that not a team I like joining all that often.
No. I would guess I'm going to run a crunch right now while you start talking about this game. But my guess is I'm going to get probably even more than 65%.
I got 57 on the crunch I did on DK.
Okay, I'll run DK in just a second.
But let's transition to Denver and Houston.
Do it.
Pour one out for Carmelo Anthony. This is the Carmelo Anthony Bowl, I guess. Nuggets, Rockets.
Right? Seriously though, what were the Rockets thinking signing him? It's like you got a good thing going here. Why be so stupid to sign this guy? He's not.
I mean, you know the answer.
What's the answer?
He's friends with Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Like that's seriously, like that's the answer. Oh, we can get him and he's my buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
He doesn't cost
Probably
anything.
is.
It's not like he was $25 million and they made a mistake. Like, yeah, if Chris Paul is happy and Melo decides like, oh yeah, I'll be like a good dude, then great.
Yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible. Yeah. This team sucks though, man.
They're super not good.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, it's not like Carmelo's shooting 6%. He's shooting 41%, whatever. But he just doesn't help basketball teams anymore. He doesn't. He doesn't help spacing. He slows the game down. He's a ball stopper. Even on a team that has Chris Paul and James Harden, like, yeah, it seems like Carmelo Anthony had a notable negative impact here. So it's probably a good thing that he's allegedly played his last game with the team.
I want to see what the Rockets numbers are with Melo off the floor. 105.1 offensive rating, 26th percentile. 105.4 defensive rating. So they are a minus 0.3 in 1,100 possessions. That's off. No Carmelo. Everybody else is fair game. They've been atrocious. Their number one lineup with Melo off, Paul, Harden, James Ennis, PJ Tucker, Clint Capella. A lineup that you would expect to be popular for them. Their main lineup. Yeah, unless you want to put in Gordon for Ennis. But either way, they're at minus 11.
Wow. Yeah, because you'd have Ennis and Tucker's defense and then Harden and Paul's offense. Obviously, Paul's a fine defender, but you're not seeing much of it this season. Yeah, they've been terrible defensively. They've just been terrible.
What a team. 108 implied total for the Nuggets, 105 for the Rockets. This Houston team, man, Gary Clark, Isaiah Hartenstein, this is just not the same team they had last year. Whew.
No, and the Nuggets are a good team. So, what is it? They're 4.5-point favorites. Denver at home. Yeah. Also kind of interesting is that from a pace standpoint, Houston's playing at the third slowest pace in the league. Denver's playing at the fifth slowest pace. Last year, Houston played at like where were they in pace? They were 14th in pace, and Denver was 15th.
Yeah.
So from 14th and 15th to 26th and 28th is a pretty big disparity. I don't know, and I actually don't think Carmelo Anthony is the reason. We looked at that, and actually he was in most of their fastest lineups played this year. So it's tough, but if we're starting with Houston, I was fortunate enough to finally get a decent Harden game. It's only a matter of time before you start getting these monster Harden games too, because he can't just sit back forever. The guy is going to jack up a ton of shots. He's going to start getting it going. And I think we're going to start seeing this soon. Like when Harden starts turning the ball over 9 times, it may actually be a good sign on a site like DraftKings.
Yeah.
Just because he's just doing so much more. But the thing about Harden too is, despite the season that he's having, where like, oh yeah, he hasn't really been that great, which from a fantasy standpoint is true. He's still tied with Kemba Walker for the third in scoring in the league, and then usage. Last time I looked, he was second in the entire league, behind I think only Giannis. Let me see. I think he's second in usage. So James Harden, no, now he leads the league in usage rate. So yeah, there you go. Giannis has actually fallen pretty rapidly, dramatically down the fourth. So Harden's leading the league in usage still. He's third in scoring. My guess is that you look at potential assists, which is an important number, and Harden is probably towards the top of the league. So you're still getting all of that stuff that you need from him. Harden is sixth in potential assists. Chris Paul is number one in the league. The upside is still 100% there. He flashed it last week. And while I think Denver's an overall better team right now, they're going to need to keep this game close, and it should be Harden putting in that work.
He's going to have to, or otherwise Denver's going to win by 40. They don't have enough options.
Right. No, they don't. It just comes down to, do you want Harden, like on FanDuel, I don't know if you play Harden and Durant, you're definitely not playing Kemba. It's not impossible to do because there's a lot of cheap garbage on this slate, but I don't know if you want to play both Harden and Kevin Durant. It could make it pretty difficult to do.
Let's take a look. I got 65% Harden on my first crunch.
Which
I got 47% Durant. So I'll have some for sure overlap. I'm recrunching now because it's not here, but 3 games will go 5 seconds. So let's take a look at the construction of a Harden Durant lineup and see how many. All right, so I've got 27 Harden Durant combo. Some of them have Paul. So let's see, sort by my projected. Yeah, I mean you're taking a lot of like lucky shots. A lot of Juan Hernangomez at 3,800. A lot of Omari Spellman. A lot of Alex Len.
A lot of Bridges probably.
Yep. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not good. It's not good at all. Trey Young, Jeremy Lin, Tony Parker in half of these lineups. 3 game slates are garbage.
Sure.
I don't want to play Tony Parker at all. I'll probably have him a lot.
Yeah, I'll probably have a little bit of Parker too. They're not fun.
No.
But my initial crunch came up with 60% Harden.
Yeah.
But it makes sense because, and that's DraftKings, by the way. I should be clear. That's on DraftKings.
I got 57 on the DraftKings crunch, so we're on the same page there.
Right.
You have to.
Yeah, because 10.5 for Harden is still very reasonable. That's still a reasonable price point. 9.4 the other day was egregious.
Yeah.
Like if you're not loading up on Harden at 9.4, 9,400 when he was the same price as Oladipo, I don't know what to tell you, right? Because worst case scenario, you get 45 from him or something.
It's just a no-brainer. There's no scenario where you wouldn't want that.
Exactly. 90, are you kidding me? If Joel Embiid was 9,400, you're playing him in the large majority of your lineups.
Yep. Yep. Without even batting an eye at it.
Right. And if he doesn't pop up, if he doesn't come up as 100% in your crunches initially, you probably want to adjust something because there's just no way at that price point that he shouldn't smash his salary or at least not kill you. Harden at 94, it's so hard for him to kill you. Almost impossible. It really is.
Yeah, he's only killing you because you have him everywhere, not because of performance.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah, I'm on team lots of Harden today. I'm also on team lots of Chris Paul.
On FanDuel or DraftKings or both?
FanDuel for sure. DK, I got 57% of Paul as well. So both.
Okay.
Now that takes some massaging. This will I won't keep 65% Alex Len if we're projecting 14. So, things will move around, but
right.
I mean, they're popping up a lot and I get it. I would expect them to be engaged. For this game to be close, one of Harden or Paul is going to have to be playing well. They don't have any other feasible options. This game's not going to go well for Houston if Gary Clark and James Ennis are the leading scorers.
Right, they need to do work. I'll give you another. Chris Paul was the other day when Harden was 94. Chris Paul was 7,100. Play him everywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You play him and Harden everywhere. Their prices have both come up. It's not the same situation, but it's not crazy to think that both of these guys have really good games. I have Chris Paul around 25%. That's also because I have a decent amount of Trey Young, who I think is priced very reasonably in this spot, and I think can have a very solid game against the Golden State team on their second of a back-to-back. But yeah, there is that. That's pretty much where I'm at on the Houston side of things. Although I do think Capella is too cheap. Now, he played the 29 minutes last game. He was dealing with that injury. He's not on the injury report anymore. He actually left early that game, and I'm like, all right, my night's over. Came back, played 29 minutes, but then didn't close the game out. And obviously Capella, always closes games out, gets his 33, 34 minutes. Yeah. So I would, in this game, Capella, where is he? He came out after like 3:25 in the fourth, which wasn't normal, right? He didn't play the final 9 minutes, and Clark, Gordon, Harden, Paul, and Tucker closed it out. Yes, Miles Turner was off the court and Sabonis was closing the game out, but I still feel like that was more of an injury thing because they talked about it after the game. So I still would have put him around 33, 34 minutes. And I just think that Capella in this spot with Jokic out there, you're not playing PJ Tucker for extended minutes at the 5.
No.
I think Capella's got to play heavy minutes here. I expect that to be the case. At 6,400 on DraftKings, to me, that's just simply too cheap. It's way too cheap.
Yeah, he's super chalky. 52% expected ownership for Capella on DK right now.
He should be chalky.
Yeah.
Plus, if you're playing Harden, pairing him with Capella is never a bad idea because they have Clint Capella gets so many of his buckets on just straight lobs from James Harden.
He's just 6,400 is just too cheap of a price for him. And if he has one of the high variance games where it's going well, he's going to be necessary in every winning lineup.
Yep.
He's one of those guys that can be necessary because of his price point.
So check this out. He has, on his made field goals this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
60 of them have been assisted. 60 of his made field goals have been assisted. 60 of 81. That's a high number.
Whew.
46 of 60 have been assisted by either James Harden or Chris Paul. So that is 77% of his assisted baskets have been from James Harden or Chris Paul.
Yeah.
So that's why you have a lot of upside pairing the two of them together. If Clint Capella scores, let's say he scores 20 points, right? On 8 made field goals, we'll give him a couple of free throws. So 8 made field goals, there's a good chance that 6 or even 7 of those will be assisted from the combo of Harden and Paul, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, if I were running DraftKings, I would, or even on FanDuel, I don't have as much interest in Capella at 8K on FanDuel just because of his price, but neither here nor there. I would be running, I would have a group set up for Capella as the key that says, I want to use at least one of Chris Paul or James Harden in every lineup. On a 3-game slate, I want those guys together. Capella's not blowing up without one of those guys.
Right. So you'd be all right with all 150 having at least one of those players.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it's crazy at all. It's not crazy at all.
No. 50, Capella is going to be hyper popular. It'd be interesting to take a look at a tournament and, let's say that Clint Capella hits his ownership number and he's at 50%. I'd love to know how often he's paired with Harden, how often he's paired with Paul, and how often he doesn't have anybody with him.
Yep.
I wonder what that split would be.
I don't know. it's tough because if he's having like an 18 rebound game or something, and he blocks 5 shots, then it kind of throws it all out the window. But, on one of those games where he has 22 and 13, like he did against Brooklyn, that would be really interesting to look at for sure.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not opposed, as much as terrible as he's been on this slate. I'm not opposed to playing some Eric Gordon, and here's why. He's basically in that same price range as Clarkson and Sexton. And you're getting just massive opportunity from him. He just can't produce. And you said a minute ago, their offensive production is almost entirely dependent on Harden and Chris Paul. Well, Eric Gordon should be a contributor here. He's just struggled to do so. But, look at his field goal attempts. 18, 21, 14, 18, 14, 26, 14, three-pointers, 9, 14, 8, 8, 6, 12, 8. Like, if Eric Gordon gets hot at this price point on a 3-game slate, I know people don't like him. I don't like playing Eric Gordon, but he's very cheap. He's pretty much the same price as a guy in Sexton who is also, and Clarkson, who are also going to do pretty much the same thing. So yeah, I will definitely I'm going to actually try to get some Eric Gordon in there, because I think he will be one of the guys that goes entirely overlooked here.
He's going to be barely owned. He's at 6% ownership on DraftKings right now.
Right.
And
think about that.
That is a guy that, on a 3-game slate.
Go ahead.
On a 3-game slate, he's 6% owned. That's insanity.
Right. What are Clarkson and Sexton projected at?
30.
Exactly.
Clarkson 30, Sexton 36.
Are you telling me those guys are like markedly better players than Gordon?
Not in the least.
So that's really all there is to it.
Yeah, that's the way to look at ownership. Let me pull it up here just to get all the guards and stuff in the same spot. Clarkson, Eric Gordon, Colin Sexton. So Clarkson at 5,700. I have him projected for 31.7 points. Eric Gordon at 24. Colin Sexton at 28. So like Gordon projects significantly lower. I get it, but he's also on a 3-game slate playing 30 minutes for, a team that should be better than they are. If he's not going to be, if he's going to be at 6%, then yeah, I'd like to have 12.
Right. Exactly. I want to get around 15%. We're also, K Millie Mill says he averages 20 fantasy points against Denver, and Denver has a good yeah, honestly, I don't care about any of that.
I would never have known that if that didn't get pasted into Slack chat.
Yeah, I'm being 100% honest with you, dude. I don't care about that even remotely.
No.
Like, it really doesn't matter to me what a guy averages against another team. We're not looking at averages here. We're looking at a 3-game slate. And again,
especially for a guard.
Right. Exactly. If you want to make the argument against Eric Gordon, fine. But good luck making it for Clarkson and Sexton over Eric Gordon at much higher ownership.
Yeah.
That's simply the point I'm making, right? I'm not expecting Eric Gordon to go out there and have a monster game. But keep in mind that even though he's projected lower than Clarkson and lower than Sexton, are we really to pretend that those projections hold that much water when all of those guys could go out and brick up 15 of 20 shots? Like, we're not projecting these guys for high assist rates, high rebound rates, high steal rates, high block rates. It's almost entirely scoring dependent with most of these players. So if that's the case and they're all going to jack up shots, then there you go. Also, we talk about this guy never has a good game against this team. This guy never has a good game against this team. Anthony Davis had 25, 26, and 2 against Toronto yesterday, and he never plays well against Toronto or against Kawhi Leonard or San Antonio or however you want to put it. Like, I very rarely look at how a guy has performed against another team unless I know that he's going to be guarded by the same guy, unless I know the scheme is the same, coaching is the same. roster is pretty much the same. With the amount of with turnover you see each year, that'll get you into really murky waters, Josh.
It certainly will. But man, I really just don't like this game now that I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
I don't like anything on the Denver side with any sort of volume.
It's tough, right?
Everybody's just kind of priced where they should be. So
I'll probably have some Jokic just because. Yeah. But
like Jokic is the guy I got the most on DK at 26%.
26, you said? Yeah. Okay.
And that's I think what we have him projected for 36. Like I'm going to clearly have parts of Denver. I have like Monty Morris and Juan Hernangomez, like guys that I could pay down for on FanDuel, but I mean, this game's going to be a bit of a slog. I just have a hard, like everybody's priced where they should be. Nothing weird is going on in Denver. So if you're picking stuff up on it, you need to, like if you're stacking up this game, you really need to go and think about how the game plays out if those guys go well together, because everybody is sort of priced where they're supposed to be.
Yep, exactly. By the way, Gordon, his last 4 games against the Nuggets is averaging like 9 field goal attempts. That he's not. They don't have the luxury of only having Gordon take 9 shots today. Just saying. You know, he's going to take a lot more than that. And it, just to be clear, Josh, this certainly isn't a hill I'm trying to die on. It's just the idea that I don't believe Eric Gordon is a much worse basketball player than Colin Sexton. You know, that's all.
I think Eric Gordon is probably a better basketball player than Colin Sexton, if we're being perfectly honest.
Where are you at on Paul Millsap? Because he's coming off easily his best game of the year, unless I missed one. You know, he had that monster first half on Sunday night, 31 minutes, 6 for 14, 25, 8, 6, and 2. These were like, these harkened back to the 2015 Atlanta Hawks Paul Millsap. He's 5,600 on DraftKings and 62 on FanDuel. What do you make of old Paul Millsap here?
I got 1%.
So, yeah, that scares me a little bit. I have 3%.
It's just not that like he's priced where he should be. It's I don't know. I don't have any like hot take for it. I mean, it should be a good matchup for him, but at the same time, like there are a lot of mouths to feed in Denver.
There are. I keep coming back to like this again though. So Larry Nance clear. How often does Larry Nance beat out Paul Millsap? I'd say probably like 60% of the time. If he gets 30 plus minutes.
I don't know. Let me take a look. I'll run my sim quick. I have actual answers for this. Hold on. It's calculating. Come on, spreadsheet. Move faster. And should be the last one. Dead air. You gotta love it.
Yeah, my apologies because I was responding back to somebody and.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. You're good. It's my fault.
Totally lost track for a moment there.
All right, so I'm going to speak to FanDuel because that's where I have this loaded up. It's a little bit easier for me. So we're talking Nance and Millsap.
Yeah.
All right, so we're projecting Nance to be 65% owned. We're projecting Millsap to be 18% owned. I have Larry Nance being a top 3 scoring power forward on FanDuel tonight, 68% of the time. Paul Millsap just 43%. Similar spread for their value numbers. So it's probably like 2-1 Nance.
Yep, that's what I would put. Nance is clearly the better play.
Yeah.
But I think Millsap is still like I want to get around 10-15% Millsap because he's not like that. He's still pretty affordable. He's not a crazy price. It's a 3-gamer, but it's tough because I do like Nance a lot more than him.
Oh, for sure. I'll have way more Nance. There's nothing good at. Again, this is just so site dependent. Like Draymond Green is 8,200. He's the most expensive power forward. The next closest guy is Paul Millsap. You don't have a choice. You're playing PJ Tucker and Amari Spellman and Gary Clark, and the whole position is shit.
It really is. It's really bad. I was trying to see if I went through. I had 4 power forwards that I noted in Dre, Millsap, Nance, and Spellman in order of salary, not in order of preference.
Say that again. Spellman was last.
No, these are in order of salary, not in order of preference.
Okay, that's what I misheard.
That I had on my list. So Dre, Millsap, Nance, and Spellman.
Okay. God.
That wasn't in order of preference, just salary.
Dude, somebody weird is going to be in the top lineup tonight.
Oh, no question.
Oh, my God.
It's going to be like in Miles Plumlee or in Eric Gordon. I just feel it.
A backup center is a very realistic probability.
Yeah. By the way, those are generally my favorite value plays or backup. Like on a bad slate would be a backup. Let me give you an example. My guy last night was Ed Davis.
Yep.
Only because he's a backup 5. And if you give him enough run, Ed Davis can hopefully get you, close to a double-double. And that's what he did.
Yep.
I wasn't projecting 14 rebounds, right? But you got 29.5 fantasy points from Ed Davis at 3,700. I think he's a better per minute guy in most cases than Plumlee, but the same logic applies here. Like Mason Plumlee is not very good, but you know what? If there's ever a situation, by the way, Plumlee this season averaging 14 and 10 per 36. So it's very possible that if he plays 20 minutes, he gives you 25 fantasy points.
Yeah. You just got to make sure that you're not putting him in a lineup with Nikola Jokic.
Yes. Yeah, very good point. But think about it. What backup would you rather play than the guy who backs up Alex Len, who just coaches can't stand the guy. He always seems to play his way off the court. Like he had a solid game last time out, despite 4 turnovers and 5 personal fouls, shot 8 for 16. But let's not pretend that Alex Len can't get yanked in the first 5 minutes or get into quick foul trouble. Like he's the perfect guy you want to have a center, a low-owned center in your lineups when you have him behind Alex Len. It's so possible. It's so feasible.
I just realized that you were talking about Miles Plumlee on the Hawks, and I was talking about Mason Plumlee on the Nuggets, and they both fucking play today in like the exact same scenario of how you want to do this.
That's entirely on me. No,
it's just like we're talking about the exact same scenario. A backup Plumlee center on 2 teams that play tonight, where you want to have some of them because if the guy in front of them doesn't play, they're directly going to get those minutes.
Yep. I should have caught your cue on the Jokic thing, though. When you said you can't play him with Jokic.
And then you said Alex Len, and I was like,
which
I was talking plays tonight? And I was like, oh, it's both of them. Cool.
Yeah, cool. There's too many. Really, though, it's just both of them.
Yeah, same story for both guys.
Yeah, both of them. Except, which one? Mason. No, Miles.
See?
Sorry.
Use the team, not the name.
Right. Atlanta Plumlee has a better chance, I think, of seeing extended run, blowout, Alex Len, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
But Mason Plumlee is a better player.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. If Jokic is playing even remotely okay, like Plumlee's dead in the water. His only path to this is probably foul trouble. Whereas Miles Plumlee could just play well, and they're like, okay, well, we're just going to change the rotation in the second half.
Totally agree. Yeah. Eat shit, Alex Len. We don't like you anyway.
Yeah. Let's finish up with this Golden State and Atlanta game. I don't think we have anything else for Nuggets Rockets, and we've been going for a while.
I think we're good. Gary Harris is still pretty cheap if you want to throw him in some lineups, but that's about it.
I'm nervous about the Nuggets because everybody's price is where it belongs.
Yep, I agree. Murray's kind of cheap. on DraftKings. 6,600 is like pretty nice. And you have to think he's going to come in lower than guys like Trey Young and such. So throw him out there, but not a guy I'm highly into here because he doesn't give you a ton of peripherals at the point guard position. And I like getting you like getting those peripheral stats at a point guard, that doesn't have to rely on points or scoring.
What do you want to do with Durant here? 11-8 on FanDuel, 11-2 on DK. I don't like projecting blowouts. I know that you don't either, but there is not a lot in the tea leaves that say that this game stays close.
No, there's not. That line just came out recently. They're 13-point favorites.
122 implied total. I have it as 122 for the Warriors, 108.5 for the Hawks, or at least something in that neighborhood. This is not a great one for old Atlanta.
No, it's not. It's got a 230 total. Golden State, I guess if there's one thing, it's like, all right, well, they played last night. They played an overtime game. Dre played 43 minutes. Durant played 39 minutes before fouling out. Thompson played 45 minutes in that game. These guys, got significant run. So outside of that, it shouldn't matter. They could play 6 straight days, 40 minutes apiece, and probably still just blow them off the court, right? So I'm just looking for things at this point. I'm gonna still have a lot of Durant. It's really, really, really simple here, Josh, and you know this. Like, we don't need to really get elaborate. Kevin Durant with Stephen Curry off the court has a 34% usage rate. It dishes out assists at like 28%, 1.5 fantasy points per minute. It's too good of a spot to pass up against Atlanta. The only concern is the blowout, except they blew out Brooklyn. He played 30 minutes, not a single second in the fourth quarter, and still had 58 fantasy points.
Yeah, it's a tough balance here.
It is.
I mean, you would expect Durant to not really play in the fourth quarter more often than not in this game.
My crunches came back with 28% Durant and 55% Harden, just to give you an idea.
We have Kevin Durant projected for 27% ownership on DraftKings. I got 37, but either way, he's clearly not in a spot that's just going to make him fly to the top of everything because of this game.
Which is crazy. If this game stays even remotely competitive, we're all going to regret not having 100% Durant. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. Although, if the game's not competitive, it's probably because Durant's not playing well. Wait, if this game is competitive, it's probably because Durant's not playing well.
Yeah, that's a good point. They toy with teams at home, though, man. They really do. Like, last season, I haven't really looked into it much this year, but like, I was taking Golden State in the second half, and they'd be down by like 10 points at halftime or tied, and it'd be like Golden State -5, Golden State -8 against the Kings. It was free money last year, and to some extent it is this year. Or take teams against the Sixers in the second half this year. You'll probably do quite well. They blow a lot of leads in the second half. That if they toy with them, like, I would take slightly less efficient Durant and 4 quarters than ultra efficient Durant and 3 quarters, just because less efficient Durant means he's not scoring as much, but it doesn't mean that he can't produce everywhere else. Like, he triple-doubled last night.
Yeah, you want him to be out there for the minutes so that he can get more rebounds or steals or blocks.
Exactly. Yeah, it's that simple. Yeah,
like, and those opportunities go away because of the minutes. He can score efficiently. That's just removing him from the ability to get all of the other stats that happen from just being on the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what do you want to do with Golden State today? Durant projected for 27% ownership on DK. Draymond 28. Klay 33. Everybody else is less than 3%. Is there a stand to take in Golden State here, or is it just, I'm going to play some Durant, some Green, some Klay, and hope for the best?
I think with Dre, I'm probably only going to have like 15%. That was what my initial crunch came in at, and I felt really good about that. Like, I didn't wanna come in over that. I didn't wanna really come in much lower than that, so I'm alright with that. Thompson, the reason you have to get some Thompson in your lineups is very simple. Uh, he's put 52 fantasy or 52 real points up against Chicago in 3 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And look, you don't have to scream. That was one game. I know it was one game, but guess what? Tonight is one game too. And anything is possible. He took 31 shots yesterday. Granted, it was overtime. But if Klay does get hot on a 3-game slate, the reason they'll blow them out. Now, this is going to sound weird, but sometimes I get concerned in blowout potential games to play. Like, we knew yesterday wasn't going to be a blowout. At least we felt very confident about that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
In the Staples Center against the Clippers without Curry. This does feel like one of those games where Thompson just blows up. And if he does, it probably affects Durant more than anyone, unless he's, assisting on all of his opportunities. So I think I'm going to see what lineups look like where I'm not pairing both of them in a lot of them. Yeah. I know that sounds sketchy, but in a blowout, it does feel like Thompson's good enough as a scorer where he could go out and have a monster game, and it could affect Durant. And Thompson's only 6,800 on DraftKings. So
Atlanta is 26th in the league in 3-point frequency allowed, giving up 35%, giving up threes on 35% of their possession. So like they give them up a lot, is what I'm trying to say. Teams are shooting 40.5% against them from 3 this year.
Yeah, that's a big number. That's a big number. They've also, to opposing shooting guards, usually DVP I don't care about, but I do in this case because with Klay, it's pretty obvious what we're getting here. We're going to see Bazemore on him, right? I mean, and Prince on Durant. Atlanta allowing the fourth most field goal attempts fourth most threes, fourth most field goal attempts, third most threes, and in terms of field goal percentage, Atlanta is right middle of the league. But the volume is what matters a lot. I think a lot gets filtered through Klay in this game, as it should. Atlanta should be just cleaned up here, and I do think Klay is a really interesting play with no Durant or with no Curry on the court. It's really hard not to like him. It's 68 and 7,100 on DraftKings and FanDuel.
Antoine Murphy says 100% Dre. Jay says all in on Dre. You said you'll have very little, correct?
15%.
I got 0 on my crunch.
I guess I'm not sure what the 100% and all in is. Like, if there's a hunch or if there's something that really benefits him, then I guess that's cool. I know you should see his assist rate climb with no Curry on the court, but it's Draymond Green's not going to shoot more with no Curry, and if he does, it'll be like 1 or 2 attempts per 36, which isn't a whole lot. So look, again, I don't have a big issue with Dre, but I'm not particularly huge on him at a north of 8K price point either.
$1,800 more expensive than Clint Capella.
Yeah. It's probably easier to play on FanDuel. On DraftKings at 8,200, I don't feel like I need to go there.
I wouldn't have more than general randomness on Draymond if I were playing on DraftKings tonight. I will be probably half the field on FanDuel.
Yeah, it makes sense. 100% seems mighty aggressive on a slate like this.
An interesting. We're differing with YouTube chat today so far. We'll see where that shakes out. If we're right, I'll take the victory lap in the morning. If we're wrong, I won't bring it up.
You're damn right.
Easiest way to do it. Are you going to try and pick and choose any of these Warriors like end of the bench dudes? I'm not going to try to hash out whether I want more Quinn Cook, Iggy, Damian Jones, McKinney. I don't like playing that game.
No, and Livingston was active yesterday, and that clearly didn't work in Quinn Cook's favor, right? He played 22 minutes.
Yep.
So 22 minutes against the Clippers, 30 minutes against Brooklyn. Livingston didn't play against Brooklyn. That game also blew out. I don't know if Cook played into the fourth quarter there. Let's see. I can tell you right here. I have it right here. Cook played. Okay, so Cook played 6 minutes in the fourth. He came in at the 9-minute mark, left at the 3-minute mark in the fourth quarter. So he did play some, but so did Thompson and such. I think, and so did. Okay, yeah. No, I don't really think that helps. I think you probably Livingston was out for what, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Then I don't even think the back-to-back's a big deal. He probably still gets another 15 or so minutes here.
Yeah,
so
it's not like he's gonna go out there and guard LeBron for 35 minutes. He can
exactly.
chill in 20 minutes of action against the Hawks.
Yeah, exactly. And Steve Kerr has never really hesitated to throw Andre Iguodala at the point if he needs to. No. This is something that he's done quite a bit. So I'm not huge. Ray asked, did Cook close that game? No, Cook did not close. He did not close that game against Brooklyn. And it wouldn't have mattered because it was a blowout. Yesterday's game, I don't know. I don't have the game log or I don't have the game flow pulled up, but my guess is he didn't. I'm going to guess no. 22 minutes would suggest that he did not close that game out.
Agreed. Let's talk about Atlanta, because I think this is a place where we need to look pretty heavily. We've touched on Alex Len quite a bit, and I think that we need to go a little bit further. 5,000 on FanDuel, 4,400 on DK. I mean, I think he's probably like my favorite play of the day relative to the public. 14% expected ownership on FanDuel.
On Len?
On Len, yeah.
Really?
Evidently. Obviously, that can change. But yeah, I'm going to be well north of that number. He's at 30 on DK.
It just surprises me because there are really only 4 centers that have any real viability. And I'm including Tristan Thompson just for argument's sake. Jokic, Capella, Thompson, Len.
Sure.
Huh. Okay. I'm going to have significantly more than that.
Yep. Yeah, I'll have... I mean, 50% isn't out of the question if that number comes up on Len. Right now, I'd say I'd probably have like 40 if he stayed at 14, and I'm cool with that.
On Sunday's 5-game slate, I had 70%.
Oh,
it's a risk.
So much Alex Len.
70% Len, 85% Jarrell Martin, and at 80 or so percent. Yeah. It's because when you get value like that, I'm all right taking a risk. I'm all right. And saying like, all right, if it doesn't pan out, I'm screwed. But if it does, I don't want to miss out on a 30 fantasy point game from a guy that's dirt cheap, on a short slate. So I'll likely do a lot of that again. And then I will in the groups, if you're crunching, I will make sure that I've honestly, this sounds crazy, but I'm thinking of doing at least one, exactly one of Len and Plumlee
in everything
throughout everything.
Yeah.
And then obviously making sure that only one of them, only one of them is in each lineup. And then make sure I cap Len at a certain spot because he's just going to pop up everywhere. But it's not crazy to me.
No, not at all.
No, because Alex Len, I'm right now, I personally think, and I'm speaking from a DraftKings standpoint, I think Len is going to be, I think he's going to be around 40%. I still think Len's going to be really popular on DraftKings at 4,400.
Our chat is losing their mind right now.
Nice.
Len's going to get run off the court. It's the regular season. He doesn't have anywhere to go.
Well, if you think Len's going to get run off the court, then listen to what I'm saying right now.
Yeah.
But but here's the problem. Okay, Len gets run off the court. let's assume Len gets run off the court. All right. Let's actually process this instead of getting irrational.
Yeah.
We're just gonna throw Amari Spellman at the 5 for all those minutes. Like, okay, yeah, Amari Spellman at the 5 is clearly better than Alex Len. Like, you can't make that argument. And Miles Plumlee is like the definition of a traditional center. So it's not exactly like this team has a plethora of alternatives that they can throw in place of Alex Len. They actually don't. So is it very possible that he gets run off the court? Yeah, it's possible he gets run off the court, but that doesn't really matter on a 3-game slate when he's as cheap as he is. He's dirt cheap. You're not paying $8,000 for Alex Len.
Exactly. That's what I was waiting for. He's
4,400.
Yeah, if you want to fade Alex Len because he's supposed to be 30% owned on DK, sure. Play more Miles Plumlee then. Someone has to play center.
Right.
They have to they're going to get 48 minutes out of the two of those guys, almost guaranteed.
Right. And if you think they're going to run like a Trey Young, Vince Carter, Bazemore, Prince, Spellman, or a young Bazemore, Bembry, Prince, Spellman lineup, it's possible. But you can't look at me and honestly say that that's going to give them a better chance of winning, because I just don't believe that.
No, not at all. Like oh god, this is just craziness to me. They're too big and slow. Golden State is not playing like traditional small ball every night, particularly against the Hawks. They're more likely to play 2 bigs at one time right now than not on a Tuesday in November.
Yeah, second of a back-to-back too.
Like they're not going to go to a lot of like KD at the 5 against Atlanta type nonsense.
Right. Damian Jones is averaging 16 minutes per game. He's a 7-footer.
Yeah.
Right. But again, he's so cheap that it's kind of irrelevant here. I mean, if we want to go back and be like, okay, so no 7-footers, no 6'11" players ever have big games against Golden State. It's not true. A lot of them do, actually. Alex Len's a big fella. There's no question, right? He's like 7'1", right?
Yeah.
This is not an ideal matchup for Alex Len.
No. But
he's also just really, really cheap, and he has a shit ton of upside. Like, Alex Len is someone that can blow up. And if you don't have him, I'm going to have some of Plumlee, and Plumlee's also a pretty big fella. So, yeah, I'm going to run that risk.
Yeah, they're just simply too cheap for the scenario. Someone has to play for Atlanta. If Alex Len was 6,400, we don't have the same conversation.
No, exactly. If Alex Len was 6,400, I'd have 0%.
Right.
If Alex Len was 5,500, I'd probably have like 5-10%.
Now we're talking like, people would rather have Damian Jones than Alex Len. So what are we looking at here?
So you'd rather have
here?
Hold on a second. So you'd rather have Damian Jones, who's locked in to 15 minutes per game. All right. I don't want to see the 23-minute game he played, because other than that, 14, 19, 11, 17, 11, 14, 11, 12, 14, 12. So you'd rather have a guy who's playing between 12 and 15 minutes per game than a guy who could get run off the court and could also play 30 minutes and give you 45, 50 fantasy points on a good day because he's a per-minute producer, and their other center who's splitting the minutes with him is out. All you, bro.
If you had Alex Len projected for just Damian Jones's minutes, Alex Len is a better play than Damian Jones because he's a better point per minute player than Damian Jones.
Yep. He's not Damian
We're not even
Jones.
factoring in the fact that Alex Len could conceivably play 28 minutes tonight. He can play the same amount of minutes as Damian Jones, and I would prefer to have Alex Len.
That is such a wild statement to make, that you would rather have a guy play that could play half of the minutes.
Yeah, we're projecting him for no ownership as well on either site.
Who, Damian Jones?
Yes.
Rightfully so.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, look, dude. make your decisions. You know, if you feel more comfortable with a guy that might play 12 minutes, then I suggest you go ahead and do that. But that is a pretty outrageous thing to say. That's all.
Price is so important in all of this. To ignore it is crazy.
Yeah. Also, Alex Len caught his 5th personal like midway through the 4th, so I don't know if that had anything to do with him coming out. They closed the game out with Bazemore, Prince, Young, Spellman, and Carter. I didn't even look at that. That was actually the first lineup that I threw out there.
Fantastic. Great rant.
So that's definitely a possibility, but I'll take the chances. I'll take my chances.
Yeah, it's craziness. Do you want Trey Young? The only guy we haven't really talked about that I care about. I mean, I'm going to play a lot of Amari Spellman because he's 4,400 on FanDuel. Just kind of don't have a choice. But Trey Young is probably the guy that we need to talk about. 7,500 on FanDuel, 7,200 on DraftKings. Projected for 20% ownership on both sites.
Let me just say quickly, if you think Len's going to get run off the court, again, it's a possibility. We're talking about price. But if you think he's going to get run off the court, then there's no reason you shouldn't be playing Amari Spellman. Just throwing that out there. Because if you think he's going to get run off the court, Miles Plumlee is not going to be the guy to play the big minutes at the 5. It will be Amari Spellman in this game. So if that is your line of thinking, play Amari Spellman over Damian Jones. All right? Because if you get run off the court, Damian Jones probably isn't the reason it's happening. Yeah, I like Trey.
The boss man snuck into our chat.
Oh, yeah?
Jones over Len, ? And they say there's no edge in DFS.
That's
what
awesome.
up,
Tom?
Fantastic.
Good to see Tom in there.
Fantastic. It's going to be outstanding. Yeah, Aaron Borchard got it. It's going to be great when Jones is in the winning GPP lineup tonight.
Yep. And that still won't matter. It's still a ridiculous comment.
Yes.
I think Trey Young's fine. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I got 25.
Yeah, I have. I'll tell you right now. 30% right now.
Yeah.
So I honestly though, like I'm probably gonna have some Taurean Prince. I'm probably gonna have some Kent Bazemore. Probably gonna have a decent amount of Amari Spellman. Just because this is one of those games that could go down the shitter real quick. There's no question, right? It could get ugly in a jiff. But at the same time, you're looking at these guys who are not very expensive. Amari Spellman, there's a good chance that he plays the 5 for stretches and gets 30 minutes. Trey Young, there's a good chance that he's probably at least playing 30 minutes in this game, unless it's wildly out of hand by halftime, which is possible, but I actually don't think that will be the case. And if you do, then you're probably going to want to get some Jeremy Lin in there and get his 22 minutes in blowout run. So yeah, Atlanta is tough because there's so many bodies.
Yeah.
But my favorite player from this game or from Atlanta is actually going to be Amari Spellman and then probably Alex Len.
Oh, Amari Spellman by far. Well, I can't say by far because of Len's price on FanDuel, but Amari Spellman for 4,400 on FanDuel. We have him at 17% ownership. He hit my cap at 65.
There you go. Yep, exactly. He had a bad game last time out, shot 1 for 7, but this against this smaller Warriors team, that if they do go small, Amari Spellman isn't going to suffer from that.
No, not at all. Amari Spellman, man, he's here. He's here for everything now. Dude just keeps going nuts. For Amari Spellman at least.
Yeah, he's putting up
47 fantasy points at 35K on DK a week ago.
Yeah, man. Amari Spellman's putting in some work. Like he's been pretty good. And not only that, like the rebounding for this guy is you want to see that they can rebound and that they can put up some of these, peripheral numbers, because you're going to get games where he's just falling off a map. He's second on the team in rebound chances this season. behind Alex Len, who leads the team by a wide margin. So yeah, I think Amari Spellman is definitely very valuable here, and as a 6'9", 245 player, kind of like a Dre shaped player. He would be the guy to match up at the 5. But then again, you got this young kid. He's a rookie. Like, let's not act like things can't go terribly wrong for him against the Warriors. In his
sure.
in his rookie campaign.
Hey, by the way, everybody, we're getting to this a little late since we've been in here for an hour and a half on a 3-gamer. Hit that like button, subscribe, do all that good stuff, because I think we're done. Unless Laffy has anything else.
No, we're done. That's 3 games. It just went on for a very long time.
Yeah, we got you and I just need like a talk radio show apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
Structure's not great for us.
Could go forever.
We really could. Yeah, like and subscribe. We've got Adam putting out the deeper dive probably in the early afternoon today. We'll have an abbreviated. Hold on, Adam putting out the deep dive later this afternoon. We'll have an abbreviated deeper dive tonight. I can't imagine that the two of you are going to need a full hour. So tune in for that. Live before lock tonight, Chris and Eddie. We'll have Ben and Andrew and Tim on for a golf show at 2:30. So if you're interested in that, check that out. NBA Strategy is the promo code, 7-day free trial on any package you would like, including Fantasy Cruncher. And again, as I stated yesterday, if you want to try one out with Fantasy Cruncher, make sure you pick a package that includes Fantasy Cruncher. Otherwise, you'll end up emailing me and asking why it's not working.
It is.
It's every day. Literally every day. So I feel like I need to say it now. Laffy, anything else?
That's it. It's been a good show. 3 games. I think we broke everything down.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens in this Atlanta game. That's going to be the decision maker right there for sure.
Send me those head-to-heads with those Damian Jones lineups. Crazy people. Best of luck tonight. I'll see you guys at the top. Later on.